Welcome on in, everybody, to another episode here of D-backs Dispatch with your temporary one-time host, most likely Brett, joined by my man Gabe here, and also by our lovely producer Josh, who's chilling in the shadows, lurking. We are here to unfortunately talk about another D-backs series loss. You could say series sweep, but two-game series are weird to say a sweep, but technically a series sweep at the hands of the Texas Rangers. And I don't know about you, Gabe, or about the rest of you guys, any of the other Diamondbacks fans. I had Vietnam War flashbacks these last 2 days, and they were not fun in any way, shape, or form. First game, D-backs ended up obviously dropping 2-4. We'll get more into it. Second game just basically didn't even show up. The only run they got in their 1-6 loss came in the ninth. But before we really deep dive into it, I kind of wanted to get an initial reaction from Gabe on what he saw from this team, how he felt after both days, and what his thoughts are, following this kind of depressing series.
I've been using this word a lot recently. Like, it's my word of the week, and it's pathetic. Like, that's the only word I can think of to describe this offense. Like, the pitching has been relatively solid as of late. The only thing that's been really bad has been the offense. We have these stats here that since was it Friday with these 4 games, they've scored 7 runs. Am I right?
I
Yeah,
think
7 runs.
It might be 8 now. Wait.
8 runs? No,
No, you're
I
right. You're
believe
right.
it was 7 runs. 7 runs in 5 games. So that's 1.4 runs a game in these last 5 games against the Marlins. And although, the Rangers are defending world champs, but they have the same record as we did coming into the series. But it's just been very, very, very upsetting watching this team. Like, it's not been fun at all to watch them. Like, this is not a fun brand of baseball anymore. I'm not having fun watching them. Like, at no point during any of these games was I having fun watching them and enjoying what we were doing. It's just been pathetic. Like, the offense hasn't really shown up at all. Like, we can get into it later, but at some point, we're gonna have to discuss how late it is in the season for them to be struggling this bad.
Honestly, I fully agree with you. The fact that you brought up them scoring less than 2 runs per game over this 5-game stretch, it's even more tough when your starting pitching has given up no more than 4 runs in any one of those single games. With I think 3 of them, your starting pitching has given up 3 or less. So the fact that you can't even give your guys some love is just wild. But I guess like you said, better time to get into it. Game 1, like I said, D-backs ended up being taken down 2-4. First topic that we had here that at least I wanted to focus on some of the good before we get into more of the negative, because pretty much the rest of the series is negative. Brandon Pfaadt once again pitches well. 7 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks on 91 pitches. But unfortunately, his home run problem that he did have a decent job avoiding in the month of May, coming in tonight only allowing 1 home run this month. It did flare up, or coming into yesterday, only allowed 1 home run this month. And Corey Seager decided to be 2023 World Series MVP Corey Seager, and he took a sweeper that just did not sweep enough deep, which kind of made Brandon's stat line, obviously look a little uglier. Plus, I believe in that same inning, I believe it was Jankowski and maybe Jonah Heim, I could be mistaken, led off the inning with both sub 75 mile an hour hits. Like, it just very unfortunate luck. That's just how, you can't really blame it on anything. You can't just be like, oh, well, that's not Brandon's fault. Still a pitcher's job to execute. But it is unfortunate that those two kind of dinky dunk swings led to, as we see right here, Corey Seager with his God, I hate how much he owns us, man. It's becoming to where when he comes into the batter's box, I was fully okay with them walking him on every single one of the at bats. And they did that on most of them, but it's unfortunate that Corey had to spoil what was another fine outing from Brandon Pfaadt. And it made me want to ask the question. I know that we've joked a bunch in the past about Pfaadt being the true ace on this team, But Gabe, I want to ask you, with how he's performed these 2 months into 2024, how much would you agree with that statement on a scale of 1 to 10?
I think he's close. Uh, Obviously with stuff like this, I think he's showing his youth a little bit. Because again, it was like just little bloop, little singles that got him for the first couple of hits. Like they truly weren't hard at all. They just went barely out of reach of the defenders. Like it's just an unfortunate luck. Like I'm sure if you look at the expected batting average on those, they're probably like 0.67067 or something stupid like that. But of course, when it's against the D-backs, those bloop singles, couldn't go for hits instead. But I think I think we're getting really close to him being a true ace on this staff, just because I mean he seemingly didn't have his best stuff, and only because of the runs that he gave up. But he went 7 innings against the Rangers. Like
Really good
that's not,
opponent.
yeah, and this is I believe like 6 or 7 starts in a row where he's gone over 6 innings. Like as great as Gallen has been, he's matching him, bar for bar, word for word at this point. Just they both go back and forth. They both are going 6, 7 innings, which is amazing. The unfortunate part is that he's not winning any of these games. I believe he's 2-4 at this point with all these amazing starts that he's done, but the offense just doesn't help him. They like it kind of reminds me of damn it. I mean, I guess at this point DeGrom, but I know there was a guy in the D-backs too, just like every start, he was just having an amazing. Oh, Gallen
Yeah,
himself,
Gallen went in his
where he just
impressive stretch in 21 where he was putting up like
yeah,
2 runs a game and
two
had like 4
runs.
wins.
Yeah, he had like something like 20 games in a row with 2 runs or fewer allowed, and he could never get over 4 wins in a season. Um, but it's just been incredible to watch him, to watch his growth. Like this is his first true, real like um season where like he's part of the staff, and I don't foresee him sending him down anytime soon. And I mean, we have AZ Sports Girl in the comments saying that she's the true ace, and Gallen's losing that title. Like I think as the season goes on, like we might have that be possible. Like the way Gallen is going, he's not going on a downslide a little bit, but he's not as consistent as he normally is. And it seems every single time you know what you're getting out of Brandon Fight. You know you're getting 6, 7 innings, two anywhere from 2 to 4 runs. Like he's giving you a chance to win every single game, which is sometimes with Gallen, he's going to give up 5 runs here and there and just pitch 5 or 6 innings.
Yeah, say I'll still I mean I'm still a Zach Gallen. Like I love Brandon Fott, but when we traded for Zach Gallen was what I was with Brandon Fott. I was a day one believer with him from the start. So I'm still, gonna be have my love for him certified. I'm not letting that linger, but it's definitely true. We could have, how last year we talked about a 1A 1B type situation with Merrill Kelly and Zach Allen, like how good they were going with like, wow, we really have 2 aces. If Gallen, Merrill, and Fott can all be on, we could legitimately have 3 aces. Like that's scary to think about. And I know you said earlier, I believe you asked about him going like multiple starts in a row now with 6 innings. I believe every start in May, he has gone 6 innings or more, with 2 of the starts, him going 7. He's unfortunately 1-3 in this month of May because, again, like we've talked about many times, and we're going to talk about it even more. And as you can even see from that box score, like the offense doesn't show up. They gave him 2 runs in the second inning. They had plenty of more opportunities in the rest of the game. Like they went 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. An unfortunate bases loaded double play flyout that they couldn't capitalize on. But he's been a shining spot when the offense is not man. Like the entire month of May, 32 innings pitched, a 3.66 ERA. One of the losses he had, he gave up what, 3 runs? Yeah, he's given up 3 runs, 1, 2, and then 4 today. So he has an insane month of May, and it's crazy because he's had some starts in or some spots in those starts to where you're like, oh, if he works on this, he could really make that extra next step. Like he's giving you 6, 7 innings and still striking out as many people as he is in some of these games, and he still has little steps that he can take. That's truly some ace like level stuff.
Yeah, and I also want to say that like with Gallen, we know who Gallen is. We know Gallen can be that 2.0 8.7 ERA, whatever it was a couple years ago. We know he can be a very low threes, high twos pitcher, with about 200 innings. And just like Dennis Reynolds, Brandon Pfaadt hasn't even begun to peak. Like he truly hasn't peaked. We haven't seen his peak at this point. We don't know how good he can be with his numbers in Reno and his strikeout rate and everything. Like he can at some point become much better than Gallon ever was. Like he can turn into another Brandon, a Brandon Webb, a guy who's just going to put up 200 innings and have a sub 3 ERA. And it seems like at this point, to end the season, that may be where he's at. He might be 3.2, 200 innings guy, which would be incredible for him, especially with the way he started his career, the way he's been developed. Like it's really impressive. I'm liking him a lot. Like we have one more year of Gallon, we have 1 year of Montgomery, we have I believe one more year of Merrill Kelly. So Fott really, really needs to step up because we might be losing a lot of our top guys.
Yeah, and if you listen to a very vocal Arizona sports reporter, Gallon might even be on the trading block this year, so it might not even be next year. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I had to bring that
I
up.
just want to bring up Oscar's comment real quick when he says that pitching and defense doesn't win games, apparently, because that's always what you hear in the playoffs. Like it's always the pitching and the defense that wins the games. But with the way they're going, I mean, there was in these last couple of years, there really was just the one error that Kevin Newman committed. But again, they scored 1 run in that game, so it wouldn't have. Oh, they scored 0 runs in that game, I believe, too. Right?
I think so.
Just
Yeah.
3-0. So I'm like, wouldn't have mattered anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, the bullpen pretty much shut him down again today, which is the most unfortunate part of the day.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has especially sucked about the stretch they've been on is like it's really made the offense have the light shine on the pile of shit that they've been, just because of how good the offense or the pitching and the bullpen have been. Like we talked about it last time with Paul Sewald coming back, everyone's kind of like settled or mostly settled back in to what we saw a lot last year, barring Ginkel. And the starting pitching, like we just talked about 5 minutes ago, a turn through the rotation of allowing 4 runs or less, and you win one single game, and you barely even put up 3 runs. Like it's not sustainable, man. Like you can't win baseball. Like we're not winning baseball games. We're 5 games under 500. There's so many, and that's kind of the things that sucked. I saw a quote about that from the Mets today. Someone was like, "We're not getting blown out. We're in a lot of these games we're close," and it's like, yeah, like that's some good cope, and that's some good, like that's some good logic to reason with. But at the same time, like a loss is still a loss, like just because I'd sometimes I'd rather be blown out 8-0 so I can turn off the game sooner than, be 2-0 through the 8th. And it's like, you just constantly giving me hope and breaking that hope.
Yeah. And that's something where like even the 22 team and 23, where that quote about them, never being out of it rang true. And it was like an inspiring thing where they're like, yeah, I mean, even if freaking Zach Davies has a blow up and they go down by 6 runs in the first, you knew that this team would find a way to fight back and make it either win the game or make it close. This team, if they go down by 1 run, that's it. The game's over. Like, that they're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to answer back. They're not going to be able to punch back at all. They're just going to lie down in Diamondbacks again. And that's what we saw in this series. That they put up a couple of runs and you're like, all right, it's going good. Then Fod allows a couple of runs and then you're like, all right, game's over. This is done. Like, it's only the 5th inning, but this game is done. Like, we shouldn't be able to call it that early, but we have been, because with how bad this offense has been. And at this point, we're looking for answers for this. Is it that the team? Are they tired? And again, is it Joe Mather? Like, do we truly need to discuss Joe Mather? Because I think you want to get into Gino's struggles. And Corbin had a lot better game today, but at this point, I feel like if we're going to send Corbin down, or we're going to do something about Gino, either bench him or bring up some other guy, like I feel like we might have to look at Joe Mather's job first, and then if the struggles continue, maybe then you maybe send them down. But yeah, as Oscar says, like with this team owes 1 deficit, it's a blowout already, because that's how it feels. It feels like it's a blowout. If you're like, all right, like I'm gonna turn off the TV and go watch, I don't know, the NBA or something.
So before we get, that was actually a good segue into game 2, but AZ Sports Girl brings up a great comment here. That's actually funny because I did a little bit of digging on the stats and have him here, but she says it really worries me at the first half of a game. D-backs offense is there, but if the other team scores, the D-backs offense goes gone. So I looked up the D-backs average per inning and where they were ranked in the league. Innings 1 through 9. So I'm gonna just list obviously first, second, third. So in the first inning, they're first in the national or first in baseball with a 313 average. Second inning, they're 20th, 234. Third inning, they're fifth, 264. Fourth inning, 27th. Fifth, they're first again at 316. Sixth inning, seventh. So fifth and sixth seems like they can kind of hit. It's like right when I'm imagining the third turn around the rotation or third time around the lineup before the bullpen. And then we've seen it a bunch this year. They cannot hit in late games. The seventh inning, they're dead last at a 173 average. The eighth inning, they're 23rd at a 204 average. And then in the ninth inning, they just don't even bother bringing their bats to the plate. They're hitting 200. And even if they can get to extra innings, they're hitting 154. They do all their scoring. They're the early backs, and they don't even care about being any kind of answer backs, like in general at all. But
Yeah, that's probably one of the more shocking stats that we've seen. Like, you flip this around, and this was, the D-backs last year, where everything would come at the end of the game, which, like I said in the other podcast, like that's what makes the game exciting. Where you're like, okay, it's 3-0, but coming to fifth and the sixth inning, they're gonna come around, and this time it's like, first inning, score 3 runs, and then you just know that's it. The game, if Gallon or whoever doesn't shut them down, then they're going to lose at this point, and it's so frustrating to watch. Like they're 9.5 games behind the Dodgers and 3.5 games behind the Wild Cards. Like it's time to have a discussion about when is it too late? Because we keep saying it's early. Well, it's getting late early.
yeah, and I guess best time to just rip the Band-Aid off and just get it over with and try to, so we can at least try to move on and think about the next series that we should hopefully win, as we were talking about before. But game one, done of game 2-4. Game two, not much better at all. This one, the Rangers once again take down the D-backs, this time being a score of 6-1. Ryan Nelson didn't have a terrible day, but I wouldn't say he had like an amazing day. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs. He gave up the 1 home run. Shocker. You could probably all guess who it was before the game even started. Corey Seager. One of the really only positives from game 2, and again, it's sad that we're getting to the point where some of these games we have like 1 or 2 things to even like be happy about. But Corbin, very good sign. 3 for 5 on the day with a double and an RBI. I believe this is his first multi-hit game since May 12th at Baltimore. And he only has 9 total multi-hit games in 2024. So again, we've known he's struggled. Hopefully this being his first 3-hit game of the season can somewhat get him and his bat sparked. I know we've talked about that a few times. But obviously, other than Corbin, the rest of the lineup and the rest of the team they just didn't bother showing up today at all. Like I don't know if you watched much of the game today, Gabe, or like even like when I'm at work, I try to watch a lot of it on game day, so I look somewhat productive. But I'm curious as to what you saw in your time viewing today's whatever we want to call D-backs game.
Yeah, I mostly listen to it because I'm at work. Even though I kind of don't really do much, but I was listening to the game, and there was a lot of, all right, we got some men on and nothing, right? The typical Chris Garagiola and the end he comes to a close, or that spells an end to the inning, whatever it was. It's like you look up and down the lineup, and it's Corbin Carroll had a third of the team's hits. Everyone else, Marte, another over. Like we showed the graphic earlier about Cattell, since the Wednesday game against the Dodgers when he recorded that, was it 21, 22 games in a row?
21st game in a row.
Yeah, since then he's gone over 20. His average has dropped over 30 points. His OPS has dropped almost 100 points since then. So the one guy we were relying on has completely shut down, and so now, doesn't matter if Corbin has 3 hits if the guy behind him isn't getting the job done either. So again, it's just a frustrating game all around because Jock did, he did his job. He got his walks, and then Walker, he got a hit, but a walk. They had 5 walks, 5 walks and 9 hits in this game, and they put up 2 runs. That's not good. That's not good at all. Like, even if you got
It's 2
5
or
hits and you
1.
put up 2 runs, that might be a little like, you could probably score a little bit more. But the fact that they were getting on base constantly and not doing anything with these runners on base, I believe they were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They left 12 men on base. Like, at this point, it's like where like Oscar's bringing up in the comments, is we were talking about how as this team goes as Corbin goes, but what about Cattell? What we were seeing what happens when Cattell goes too, and like we need both of them to show up, but then we also need everyone else to show up. And I guess I can bring up the topic now if you would like the about what these guys are making in terms of
Yeah,
money.
go for
If you
it.
want.
Perfect, yeah.
So I was crunching some numbers earlier, and so our supposed top guys, guys that we're paying the most this year, other than Cattell. So it's Corbin Carroll, Gurriel, and Suarez. Together, they're making $40 million this year, and so far they contributed to 0.1 WAR in between the three of them. A guy is making $40 million, and for comparison, Jake McCarthy is making the league minimum. He's making 5% of their combined salary, and he has a 0.3 WAR. So He's producing 3 times the WAR as these three guys are for the season. Like that's not good. That's pathetic. Like
That's
that's
unacceptable, to put
it's
it, like,
unacceptable at this
honestly.
point. Like, you're paying these guys millions of dollars and they're not doing their job. Like, we can talk about Joe Mather all we want. Like, yeah, sure, maybe he's might be a bit of the problem too. Maybe he's telling them to swing for the fences rather than getting their singles and doubles. But at some point, these guys got to show up too. Like, what the hell are you paying them for? These are professional baseball players. Same with Gino and Gurriel. They're supposedly seasoned veterans, and then they just watching strike three straight down the middle over and over again. And
So
today,
sick
there's
of it.
what's his face? Who's the pitcher for the Dunning?
Rangers, yeah, Dane Dunning. With
Yeah, Dane.
meatballs, dude. Like that's what,
Meatballs
like,
straight down the middle. Cutters 90 miles an hour straight down the middle. They were either staring at it or fouling it back or grounding out. Like, that's how do you not feel embarrassed at this point? You're a professional baseball player. And obviously, not to say that Dane Dunning's a bad player or anything like that, but he was missing his zone. He was missing his spots a lot. Like, it's not like Jonah Heim was, positioned straight down the middle. Here, throw me a cutter straight down the middle. He was on to the sides, inside, outside, whatever it was, but he was just completely missing. And instead of taking advantage of those mistakes, they're getting themselves out.
yes, I was because like I was saying before, I was watching the game on game day, usually like listening to it as well at the same time. But when the game started off with Corbin Carroll getting obviously no surprise, back to back 88 mile an hour or 80 yeah 89 mile an hour cutters above the zone, taking both of them for balls, getting into a nice 2-0 count. He takes a sinker just on the up and away part of the corner for the first called strike. Again, he's seeing pitches nothing but up in the zone. Then he fouls off a cutter, a little bit on the hands, and then a 90 mile an hour fastball. Literally, like, you could not put any pitch more on a tee. And again, like, I'm not saying that like hitting a baseball right down the middle is hard. I've heard from baseball players, like some of them before in interviews, and even like hanging out with Kyle Blanks at my parents' house. Like he said, like hitting a fastball, like whether it's 89, 92, 95, even higher, like if it's down the middle, it's still one of the tougher pitches because you're just genuinely not expecting it. But it's still not an excuse, and just it's so frustrating to see. Like when I saw that, I instantly was like, "That's how today's game is gonna go, isn't it? It's just gonna be one of, as Limp Bizkit says, one of those days." Sorry, that was the
Yeah,
whitest thing I've ever done.
and, and it's not just the one guy. It's not just let's just say Carroll in this case. It's not just him. Staring at 90 mile per hour fastball straight down the middle zone. It's all of them. All of them. And it's just the 9 guys that are on the field, and then like the 2 or 3 guys that they put in off the bench. They're just not seeing the ball well. I'm like, does everybody need to go to the freaking Laser Schwartz guy, where the hell, to get their vision fixed, or like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, and honestly, it's some of the things that it's frustrating, especially when a team's playing bad and nothing is gonna really like seem fun. But like, hey, D-back socials, can you guys not post videos of Ryan Thompson breaking the opposing or visiting team's record for pop shot. Like, I'm sorry, it's fun. It's fun when we're winning. It's very fun in general. But just with the way they're playing right now, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I loved Ryan Thompson. I love talking about Ryan Thompson as much as I possibly can, but I just do not care. Like, I don't care at this time. Like, please, like, but again, that's where I'm like, hey, you know what? At least you're trying to keep our spirits up. It was fun to see him, do it. Little side tangent, but dude, it's just this is getting. I don't know. Like this is how many podcasts in the last month of May alone have we been? Oh, it's depressing. This team's rough to see. This team's not turning it around. Like I don't like you said. I don't know like if it's a Joe Mather thing. I don't know if it's like a confidence thing. I don't know if it's like Torrey's like I don't think Torrey's lost the clubhouse because I just don't see him as being a guy that could like lose the clubhouse like that. But it's getting to the point where I don't know what other kind of questions you can really ask. Like I know you brought up earlier Gino and his struggles, and I definitely did want to ask about that because I guess the main question was how much more time until we truly start to panic and worry about this team's performance. And for me personally, I think it's going to be after this series with the Mets. I think this series that we have with the Mets will really be the hey, this is if we're not playing well after them, we really gotta panic button, like figure what we're doing with our season. I was curious of how far of a leash of you're giving to this team and how much more you're willing to let them stray. I don't think it's much because I think we're on the same
Yeah,
page.
and I think we're seeing it with some quotes that Torey Lovello had yesterday, I believe, or the other day, where he was saying that like at this point with the way the team is struggling, he doesn't want to take out any of the hot bats out of the lineup, which is BS, I guess. I don't know what else to say with that because I'm like Tori, come on, Tori. Like we know who you are. You're the guy who's going to give Ketel Marte a day off after he goes 4 for 5 with 2 home runs. Like you're saying it that I'm not going to take out guys who are hot. Why now? It's because you're on the hot seat. Because it sure seems like it. If you're saying stuff like this, like at some point we're gonna have to have. I mean, I don't think Tori should get fired or anything. I'm not saying that,
No,
obviously.
not at all.
And I don't think he's lost the clubhouse, but I think there's a lot of issues right now going on in this team. Like I said before, they don't seem like they're having fun either. They're in the dugout. They all look miserable. Like, do we really need Perdomo there that much? Like, I mean, maybe just because when you're winning, you're having fun too. But even last year, when they were having the struggles, this team didn't look defeated in the dugouts either. Like we're getting to the point where we just what do we do? Like, do we
Is this
fire
who
Joe
we are?
Mather?
Is this who we are?
Yeah,
Would
like
firing Joe Mather actually fix the offense's beautiful picture of Lourdes right there. That's how I imagine Gabe, Josh, and then all other D-backs fans feel along with myself like these last just 2 months of the season. Like these were not the expectations or the standards that we thought this team was going to have. Just genuinely like put it out there. Like Josh made a great comment right there. This kind of felt like how the Suns season went, A lot of expectations, a lot of like especially before, on paper oh, here's how good this team can look, but sometimes when it gets down to the actual like in game time, like there's some holes and we've mentioned it even like 2 or 3 times now. I guess this is the perfect time to bring it up. Eugenio Suarez, man, he was brought into this team to be like the upgrade at third base. He was yes, he's the vibes guy. That's a big bonus, but how good are vibes in the clubhouse when you're 5 games under 500 and the entire team is hitting basically like 220, like at best. He is just. I'm gonna put it blunt. He's just not good this year. Pulling up his stats right now. Hold on.
is literal zero war.
Yeah, like he's genuinely just not good. In 192 at bats, he's slashing 214, 279 with and he has a 592 OPS. Hold on, I'm trying to find his slugging. Yeah, 313 slugging. Like him and Corbin, I believe, are the 2 lowest OPSs on the team, and for what we brought Gino in for, he's genuinely not doing anything that was promised, what was expected of him. While Andres Chaparro, who we picked up from the Yankees minor league hell, who came over here, and again, I know it's Reno, so you got to take it with a little bit grain of salt, but in literally the exact same of at bats, 192 at bats. He has 61 hits, 12 doubles, a triple, 10 homers, 23 walks, slashing 318, 396, 547 with a 943 OPS. Like, there's only so much like, and again, I get, money is involved with it, and he is a clubhouse guy, he is the vibes guy. You don't want to just like send a dude down or cut him because you don't know how that's going to affect the team in general and the chemistry. But it's one of those where I'm like, how much harm would it do to be like, hey, Gino, like genuinely, like we know you can hit. Go down to Reno where guys can mash. Just genuinely figure out how to mash again, and then we'll bring you back up here. But like with how Chaparro's hitting and with Domo coming back in hopefully the next few weeks, and I believe I was hearing reports that Tori was saying that they're getting Domo reps at third. I just genuinely don't understand. Like, I don't see much more of a reason. Like Gino has to be on the hot seat for a starting job, if anything. Like, I even saw, I believe, a few people online today that were like, why not start Blaze at third over Gino for some of these games? Like, yeah, Blaze might not have the same potential pop that Gino has. He might not, even play the same defense. Like, but Gino hasn't been a Gold Glover at third. And he's been, I'm going to be pretty frank, he's just been terrible at the plate. He's been swinging stuff way off the plate and then staring stuff right down the middle. Like, at least Blaze has had some pretty decent at bats. He'll work some walks here and there. He will get some base hits here and there. Like, he could slam something into the gap. We've seen it. Like, I just feel like I don't have any confidence in Gino, and I don't know what else they could do with him. Kind of like what we've been talking with Corbin. I don't know what else you can do with him at the major league level. Or what do you do with him?
Yeah, because thing with Gino is what we were promised and what he always was a better Kyle Schwarber. He is going to strike out 200 times. He's going to hit 30, 40 bombs, but he's also going to hit around 230, 240. Schwarber is always under 200. And I would have been fine if Gino was hitting 194 right now, but he had 15 bombs. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, this is our masher. This is our guy. But he's not doing that either. He has, 3 home runs on the season, right?
I would take even 10 bombs. Yeah, I think it's like 3 home runs in the season. Let me see.
Yeah, and he hasn't hit one since April or whatever the hell it was, or early May. Like, he is not producing at any level. His defense has been good, not great,
Yeah,
not stellar,
he's definitely improved from the first few weeks here, I will admit.
yeah. So good defense, not great defense for a guy who's making like $15 million a year. At this point, like, do we call up Chaparro because, yeah, it's Reno, so the numbers are inflated, but he's also walking a lot. He has a good on base. Like, he's clearly hitting the ball well. And the thing is, at this where we are right now, like, I would be fine if they bring him up because as we've seen with a lot of these rookies, they come up and they'll mash for 2 weeks until the league adjusts to them. But that's what we need right now. We need to go on a run for 2 weeks. We need, a guy who can spark this offense because when Chaparro comes out here and he mashes the way Blaze did in the first couple of weeks of the season, that's fine by me. I don't care if he starts to like fall apart a little bit after that, because at that point you would hope, Perdomo's back, and then maybe Blaze has some more reps, or maybe even Gino becomes a little bit better too. But the point is just to get to 500, and they're 5 below 500. Like, we kept talking about the Dodger series as being a potential launching point. Well, now they're 2 games below 500 and looking on an upturn. Now they're 5 games below 500, and they're completely out of any sort of wild card spot or even for the division at this point. Is just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to do with Gino. Like, he's a veteran, so you're hoping he's going to come around because Goldie's coming around. We have a few guys who have struggled throughout the year who are starting to come around now, and you would hope that that's what's going to happen. But he looks completely lost at the plate. It's not just that he's hitting hard hit balls and just bad luck. No, he's striking out, watching strike 3 straight down the middle. He's swinging at pitches way outside the zone. He looks completely lost. He looks like Nick Ahmed out there.
he like, it's one of those where I don't have any like really confidence. And again, it's not like this isn't me talking like I hate speaking about like players like this and going at them personally, but it's when they're up at the plate, I just don't have like, it's if you get a hit, I'm actually like, it's kind of like how we were with Pavin Smith last year. When you finally get a base hit and you finally do it, we're not expecting you to do it all. It's like, oh my God. And like, that's not what I want Gino to be in the category of. Like that's like not who we expected him at all. And I don't know. I kind of want to see, like I said, I would really like to see Chaparro. Like you said, he is really good with the plate discipline, and who knows, with those guys that as you mentioned, that do come up and do play hot at the start, that could be just what they need. They could just need a little bit of just fresh blood, fresh energy to come in there and be like, hey, you know what, guys, like you're not expecting anything of me. I'm not saying like I'm going to carry the team on my shoulders. Like I'm just here to produce. I'm here just to take some of the weight off your guys' shoulders, so it's not just the only ones there.
Yeah, I mean, like at this, like, what's the point of having a top 10 farm system if we can't call these guys up? Because we have Chaparro, we have certain guys in the minor leagues that I feel like, or even Davison de los Santos, he's tearing it up. He's only in Double A, but still, like, can he be worse than Gino?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point.
If he's hitting 215, he's automatically better than Gino at the major leagues.
I mean, yeah, Double A at least. I still want to see him take down his strikeouts a little bit, but hopefully he'll adjust to Reno. There, maybe like you said, we'll swap them. One's at Reno, one's in Double A. I'll take one of them over. But I had one question more before we kind of just wipe our hands clean of this Rangers series, take it ever memory, and since we don't have to face the Rangers again, we can just try to hopefully have closure from the 2023 World Series and now this series, because Corey Seager just owns us. He's just the dude is ridiculous. He in 83 games versus the Diamondbacks, he has 310 at bats, 93 hits, 27 doubles, 14 home runs, 56 runs scored, 47 RBIs, 41 walks, slashing 300, 381, 535. So seeing those stats, which genuinely kind of surprised me, like he's had a really big sample size. It's not like some of these guys where they play like 10, 20 games against the D-backs and just go off, like, the Raimel Tapias, the Logan Forsyths. This dude has a genuine over a half a full season against just the Diamondbacks alone. So it made me ask, is he quickly becoming the new owner of the Diamondbacks and the boogeyman to us Diamondbacks fans, or is it more just kind of recency bias with what he did to us in the World Series and obviously what he just did to us in this 2-game series?
Yeah, whenever I take Benadryl to go to sleep, I don't see the Hat Man. I see Corey Seager. Like, this man haunts my nightmares. And but he's been this way since he was with LA. Like, as soon as he signed with the Rangers, I was like, thank God he's out of LA. Like, I don't want to see him anymore. And of course, he becomes the MVP during the World Series against us because, of course, why not, right? Um, but he's always been a great player. He's always been an MVP candidate. He was a number one prospect for a reason. He's an incredible player. So I just think he's better than like the guys that we're putting out there at this point. Like he's an amazing player, and when he's healthy, he's a top 5 guy in the league, I think.
100%. I mean, there's a reason why the Rangers like gave him all that money, man. Like I understand. It sucks because even at work, because I work in a sports memorabilia business and I see a lot of signed stuff. Literally in yesterday alone, I saw the photo of Corey Seager hitting the game-tying home run with Gabby Moreno in the back, just closing his eyes and just praying that glove arrive or that ball shows up in his glove. I saw that photo like 3 or 4 times, and every single time it hurt the same amount as it did that seeing it as it happened. But as you said, I guess at least the one saving grace to kind of like how I was saying before, the Raimel Tapias and the Logan Forsyths is he's not a Raimel Tapia or Logan Forsythe. Like this guy is, like you said, when he's healthy, probably a top 5 player in baseball in general. Like he's a 2-time World Series MVP. Last year, like when I believe if it wasn't for Ohtani, like didn't he finish like second or third? Like he's a genuine MVP like player. So it was kind of a fun question. It made me think about before we, like I said, wipe our hands and don't have to think about the Texas Rangers for any of the remainder of the 2024 season. So going on into what, like we are saying, is how I view the, I guess not necessarily make or break. Again, it's still a long season, but before I hit the panic button, this series is going to decide how I do it. and it's the D-backs at 25-30 going into Queens to face the New York Mets, who are 22-33, just coming off of a sweep against the Dodgers, who are not playing well. They're kind of lull Metsing it up. The probable starters we have for Game 1 tomorrow on Thursday is Zach Gallen against Scott for the Mets. Christian Scott. I forgot his first name. I had to click on his stats. Zach Gallen versus Christian Scott. Then we have Jordan Montgomery versus Luis Severino on Friday. Saturday, Blake Walston makes his second major league start, going up against Sean Manaea, who's actually had a pretty solid year this year, sitting at 3-1 with a 3.16 ERA for the Mets. And then Sunday, we thankfully again have Brandon Pfaadt going up on the bump, but the Mets do not have a set starting pitcher. So, Gabe, what are your kind of initial thoughts going into the series against the Mets? Like, what are you hoping for? What have you seen from the last few days from the Mets on like social media, and then obviously the D-backs with like this team lately? What are your expectations?
The Mets are not a good team. I've been watching them against the Dodgers, and they have really struggled to put together any sort of wins against them. Even with their pitching too, like we're seeing, Gallen is going to come out. We have our aces coming out there, and kind of might not even matter with the way that this offense is. It does matter if Gallen, Montgomery, and who was the other one?
Gallen, Montgomery, and Pfaadt.
And Pfaadt, yeah.
And Walston again. Walston's had two
And
really
Walston,
solid,
so
really
it
solid
doesn't
years.
matter if they all, throw 9 innings with 1 run. Like with the way the offense is, they're probably going to lose all these games too. So I this is a must win for them. They have to win this series. They can't just not just lose the series, but they can't tie the series. This is not a good team. This team is going to be selling come the trade deadline, and we don't want to be as bad as they are. Like this is our chance to really get back into this, get a game under 500, get a game two games under 500, whatever which one it is. But this is our chance to take charge, do whatever it is, flush out these last few games. Like they have issues, work them out, find a way to get back on the horse.
Honestly, yeah, this is definitely going to be a series where with their 3 starters going up, like you have to take advantage. Like you can't let this trend, and like I know it's easier said than done, but you gotta flush it mentally and like actually go into this series against the Mets like ready to like genuinely ready to beat their ass. Like you have at minimum 3 games that you should win, in my opinion. With the 4th one against Walston, like again, we don't know exactly where we're getting with him, but Patricia does make a comment here that I stand corrected, and thank you for correcting me. We do have another 2-game series against the Rangers in September, I believe, here, which makes sense because now that I think about it, 2-game series, then they usually do another 2-game series. So sadly, we're not done with them, but with the Mets series coming up, I don't know. For some reason, there's certain teams that me personally, whenever the Diamondbacks go, because just in my life watching them play against each other or whoever it is. Oh yeah, September 10th and 11th. Never forget, indeed. Whoever they're playing at the time, like the Marlins, I feel like the D-backs just always play terribly, whether it's against them in general or in Miami. The Padres, like any divisional opponent's always going to be tough, but the Mets are just one of those where, especially in Queens, I don't remember seeing a time where like we can turn on, and even when like in 2017, 2018 fighting for the division, then like they always struggle. And I even look up right now, the Mets all time are 94-78 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like we don't really play them too well. And again, I know that's all older stats. That's not what they are now. But I do have a little bit of kind of like with that Marlin series. This just feels like a trap series to me. This just feels like that series where we're just sitting here like, oh, we should hopefully sweep, but we should easily win this. We should go in there, positive vibes, turn the offense around. But I don't know. Like I need to see it to actually fully believe it. Like I've been believing it this year. You, me, Brandon, Gabe, Josh, a lot of us Diamondbacks fans, a lot of you here in the chat with us tonight. Like we've been believing, we still believe in this team. We know they can do it. It's just unfortunate seeing them just consistently just come up short. against teams they should
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, we've always been, the baby back believers, since these guys were all in Reno. Like, we always thought this team was going to be great, and just the way this season is going, it's like our confidence in them is slowly going down. And I would hope that they can at least make the playoffs, or they're out in the first round. Whatever, it was what it was. But like I was saying earlier, like we have certain guys who are not going to be on this team next year and the coming years, so we got to do something about this now. Like we're not in win now mode, but we're getting there, and we just have to figure out ways to string together some wins because they're not just losing, heartbreakers or anything like that. It literally is like that little slider scale that we had is just pitching, nope, or bullpen or offense or defense. It's literally just going up and down, just moving the sliders back and forth.
Literally, yeah.
If one thing is going wrong, it's just literally just three things at once going wrong. Well, one thing is going great, and so far as starting pitching, it's going really good. And even now, the bullpen to a certain extent is going really good too. But just the offense has completely gone cold, and I don't know how to restart the offense because people keep saying, "Well, we're hurt." Alec and Perdomo were literally our worst
They're
two
not
offensive
gonna fix the
players.
actual offensive problems. They can
They were
fix
the
the
worst.
clubhouse and the vibes, but
They've been guys that have been sent down because of how bad they were offensively in the big leagues. So what are you expecting them to do? Like I know, like here's the thing: they do take pitches. That's the main thing that I love about them. To turn over a lineup, they take pitches. They'll each take 5 to 10 pitches each, and then you move over to the top of the lineup, which is great. But that's not what this team needs right now. This team needs
it might,
guys.
man. Like, at this point, like, I don't even know, like, because that's where if we're seeing, like, the stats we saw earlier with, like, by the 3rd time around, they're finally starting to hit these pitchers, like, the second time around, they're clearly not, like, a 234 average, 264, 201 in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but in the 5th and 6th, they're hitting 316 and 265, so maybe just those extra little bit of pitches, like, that they're seeing, maybe gets them tired a little bit more. I mean, I still agree with you. I don't think that's exactly what they need, but I'm just reaching for any straws I can get at this point, man.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm more frustrated that did we not make a move out for Arias? It seems like the Padres kind of just got him for nothing. Because yeah, I mean the guys that they gave up really truly weren't that great. Like we couldn't get Arias for De Los Santos or something. Like he would have been perfect at the top of this lineup, especially with the way Cattell was hitting. Like we probably could have put up a bunch of runs with both of them. But instead, we're up and down the lineup. We got a lot of 5, 6, 700 OPS guys, and it's just we need to turn it around at some point. And I don't know what the solution is here because maybe it is the hitting coach. Maybe it was a miscalculation on Mike Hazen's part, trying to trade in singles and doubles for home runs this year because that's what he got. He got supposed guys that are boppers, so we traded in some of the speed for the bop, but there's no bop going on. So what's left? Nothing. Because I think this is literally one of those like suffering from their own success sort of things. Because last year during the playoffs, like the reason why they advanced through the playoffs was because not just timely hitting, but they're hitting bombs. Everybody was hitting bombs. We had Alec Thomas, with the home run of his life. We had Gabby. We had Perdomo. We had so many guys who don't hit home runs who are hitting home runs left and right. And I wonder if that got into their heads a bit where they're like, yeah, I can hit a whole bunch of home runs. And it's like, no, you can't. It's just that in the playoffs, you're facing off against the best pitchers in the league and you have one pitch and they were able to take advantage of that. But we've seen it from guys like the Phillies, the Dodgers. There's a lot of teams in this league that completely rely on the home run. And when they have a guy like Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Turner, when you have guys who can bop and they're going to hit 30 something bombs a year, then it works out for them. But for a team like the D-backs where you have a bunch of little twinks and stuff, like they're not going to hit 30 bombs each. They're going to be 10, 15 home runs, if anything.
Yeah, so that's a great point, bringing up they did definitely. There's been plenty of stats going around about they don't steal really much anymore. Like they did bring in guys to bop, and they're just not really hitting that many home runs. Like just everything that they were pretty much were last year. has disappeared, and then everything that we expected them to even like bring to the table this year just really like hasn't shown up. And you made a comment about it earlier that just hoping that they even make the playoffs, and like, yeah, if they get bounced in the first round, they get bounced in the first round. There's still, just because I'm, like all probably sports fans and just fans in general, I'm always a little maybe not superstitious, but I'm definitely very stitious. Um, they haven't made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons since I believe the 01-02 season. I believe every season since then that they've made the playoffs, they've always missed it the following year after. There's varying factors for all of those reasons. Like, they're not all the same one. And even going into it this year, like, after the first month, like I was saying, to Brandon, I was like, there's a few similarities with this D-backs team that I see with last year's Padres team, like go as far as they did in the playoffs, make some of those additions, have those expectations, and then just constantly see them just struggle. Like, that's kind of like, again, I'm hoping to see it change, but with the trends I'm seeing of this team and that Padres team, along with this franchise's history of just not making it in back-to-back seasons, it just, I don't know, my tinfoil hat is starting to cook my brain a little bit more than I think I want it to up here,
Yeah, and like I said, it's just the way you see this lineup work. It's like, it'd be fine if maybe one or two guys were struggling, but it's all of them, and they're all having it at the same time. And what do you do about that? Like, when do you think they're going to snap out of it? Are they going to snap out of it? Are they suddenly all going to turn on the Jets and you're going to look up and they're all hitting 250 with an 800 OPS all at the same time? Like, is that realistic to even think about? No, it's not. Like, it's going to be maybe one or two of them. Maybe Corbin's getting out of his funk. Maybe Cattell gets out of the little funk that he's been on right now. Because so far, our most consistent hitter has been Walker and Jock, and they're, really good. But if your top guys in the lineup aren't doing anything, then Walker can hit all the the doubles and solo home runs he wants. It's not going to win the game for us.
Yeah, so it's the way that they're cooking right now is definitely not a recipe for success. And if they're gonna keep making all this dubious food, then my man, I'm not gonna be enjoying it. But like we said, hopefully the series against the Lowell Mets, especially with what we've seen, I'm hoping that we can really jump on them, man. Like, this is gonna be huge. Like,
Yeah, and they also lost their closer for a few weeks too.
that is
Yeah, shut
true.
down.
Yeah.
And
So I
Diaz.
guess
So
before we get out of here, any final thoughts, or maybe like I guess we can bring back predictions. Any predictions for the series? No predictions.
no,
No, that's fair.
what
I'm
are
gonna
we going to
predict.
say?
I'm gonna predict we're gonna see, because I feel like it's always every Saturday in New York. We're gonna see a rain day, and it's probably gonna be
Oh,
Saturday. That's my prediction. Like, I don't, for some reason, it's about the Mets, baby. Let's go D-backs,
yeah.
not the Mets.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a weather delay one of these days. So we might see a doubleheader Sunday. That's my prediction.
You know what? That's how far we've come. Is we now have to do predictions that are anything but based on the
With
game,
the
because
weather.
we just jinx it every time. But I appreciate me, Gabe, and Josh. And I know Brandon's not here. He's enjoying himself, eating some great steaks, having some fine beers. All four of us appreciate each and every one of you guys for stopping by. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. If you guys are listening on Spotify, Apple, whatever it is, rate us 5 stars. Also, go follow us on Twitter. We post a lot during games, lost after games. We post a lot of memes, so if that's up your alley. I'm Brett. This is Gabe. Again, our man Josh, the producer, behind the computer. But we have been D-backs Dispatch. We will see you guys again for the Mets post-series recap.